Hi friends, it's Yana here today, and today we're working on the Tilda top. This top is super cute. It's a free pattern. You can go to my link below, info link, and you can find this pattern for free. There is a French tutorial for it, and today I'm doing an English tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. Please comment, like, and share. Subscribe if you haven't. Go check out my other free pattern tutorials, and I'll see you at the end. All right, friends, let's get started with this Tilda blouse, and we're going to sew it up. We're going to start with the scariest part of the whole situation, which is doing these front pleats. Don't worry, I think we got them figured out. We'll figure it out together. And if I completely fail, then you can learn from my mistakes and do better on your blouse. Okay. So obviously, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place our pattern on top of our pattern cutout piece. I know it looks kind of wonky, but it's just because I'm stretching it out here, but I promise it's the right thing. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark these, what do they call? These pleats right here. These are going to be my pleats. I'm going to mark not the dotted lines, but the straight lines. That's where I'm going to fold. So I'm going to just like mark it right here so I know exactly where it's at. Or you can just like move it and mark it right there. But I'm going to show you how I saw the designer for this pattern, do it on her tutorial. Now, she does have a YouTube tutorial on this pattern, but it's in French. So I figured we're just going to go ahead and do one in English for those of us who unfortunately do not speak French. So I've got the fronts here. This is the bottoms. I need to figure out the tops as well. So what she did is, you see that there's these little peaks here. It's kind of hard to cut that into the fabric. So what she did is she grabbed it and she just like snipped a tiny bit to show her where those are on her fabric right here. Once that's done right here, she flipped the pattern piece over with the fabric, so don't let it fall out. And now you have these pins that are showing you exactly where those lines go. Now, because this is the back and you're going to fold the front, you're just kind of basically going to mark that so you can turn the pins around. So this fabric is really wiggly, so it wants to move on me, and I want to make sure that it's correct. So because my fabric is really light and I have this blue water soluble marker, all I really need to do is like mark the spot. I'm going to see it on the other side. So I'm marking the spot with this of where my pinned area is. Literally what she did is she marked it really nicely, so that way then she could pull the pin out and then put it the other way, and then she could remove the pattern piece and still see it. But again, because my fabric is pretty see-through, I can see my blue. But if your fabric is not see-through, then you may want to do it that way. So then now I can pin right here on the front where it is. You could also, and I don't know why she did it this way, I don't know if maybe I'm not thinking correctly. You could also go from this side. You can see your lines through your paper and just put the pin right on this side. So now when you turn it, the pin is actually coming out through the front. You see what I'm talking about? Because you can kind of see them through the paper on the back. Anyway, however that works out for you, because now I can do it on this side. This is the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to turn my fabric here and I can put my pins right here, and then I'll have the front on the other side. But let's work on one side at a time. So I'm going to remove these pins. So now here's the front, and I've got my little dots where I'm supposed to end, and I've got my little slits where I'm supposed to start. You see that? I've got a little slit right there that's showing me. Now, I don't like to mark my fabric very much. I don't know why. I'm always scared that it's not going to come out, even though this is a water-soluble marker. But what you want to do is you want to go from that little cut in the top. You see that little cut right there? You want to go from there to that dot and mark it, because that is where you're going to fold your fabric. Loop. Okay, and you're gonna grab your fabric and you're gonna do your little fold right there. It works best if you do have that line drawn, because it gives you a very straight, you could go right through that line. But I didn't draw that line, I just put the pin right there because I'm scared to draw lines, because I'm always afraid they're not going to delete or erase. I always say delete when that's not really the right word. Now I'm going to steam that up right there to create that beautiful crease that's going to be where I'm going to sew up my pleat right here. So here's my little cut line that I made. Here's my little dot right here. And I'm just folded at a straight line right there where my pin shows me where I need to be. And then I can just go ahead and steam that so it's creased. And just move this pin out of the way. Then I'm going to head to my sewing machine and I'm going to start here and sew all the way down to the dot and create that pleat. When we get to the end, at the end of the dot, what we're going to want to do is tie off the thread right there. So if your machine ties off, you can make it tie off. If your machine doesn't, then you're going to have to tie it off yourself and then clip it. And we're going to do that to all the pleats. So here's one. And I can just leave it pleated and do that one first, but I'm going to show you the next one. Again, here's the little tear right there, the cut that I made. And you could draw the line if you want to. But what I did was I grabbed my ruler, I measured to my dot right here, and here's my cut right here. And if you want to mark it, you can, but again, I'm a chicken, so I just use my pin right here and mark like where it would be, where the fold would be. Where are you? Right there? Yeah, right there. So that it is right there. And then I'm going to fold it, grab there and there, and fold. Make sure that my pin is right where it's supposed to be, because that's the middle of it. And steam, because you're going to sew that one next. So you do one at a time so that you don't like remove. Okay, my iron is plugged in like really weird, so it doesn't want to reach, but there it is. So, or you can do all the pleating at once and then go sew, because this is going to get sewn together, then this one's going to get sewn together, and then later we're going to steam them all coming this way. And you'll have like the beautiful little pleats on it. So I'm going to go continue to do this, all 3 pleats on this side, and go sew them. You're sewing them, I think it didn't really say how far away. It just said a little bit off of it. So I'm only going to sew them like not even a 1/4 inch, just like maybe 3/8. I'm not sure right here. I'm just going to give it a little sew and away from the edge. You're just sewing it down away from the edge. And then let me look at the pattern and see if I can find how far away from the edge they did it. All right, so they do 1/2 centimeter, so 3/8 is what I'm going to do. Okay, so there's that, and here's my last one here, and here's my pin, my dot. This one's not long enough. I'm gonna try a different one. So we've got dot, cut, and I'm gonna add my pin. I'm gonna add actually 2 because it's a longer one. I wanna make sure that they line up. Again, it might be easier if you actually draw a line, but I'm a baby. All right. There we go. And then I'm going to go sew those up. Some fabrics, it might be easier to go sew it up first. This fabric is so nice and like easy to pleat that it stays really nicely. So now I can just grab it and go over to my sewing machine and sew 3/8 away from the edge down, and then tie it off right here, and then do the next on the next pleat, 3/8 from that edge and tie it off, and then the next pleat again. And then I'm going to do the same for the other side of my blouse. Now, if you wanted to pin that really nicely, you can, obviously. on the edge, so that's why I just kind of go for it. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to that point right there. Maybe I will put a pin right here so I know exactly where I'm stopping at. All right, now I don't have a option for tying it off, so I'm just gonna back up a little bit and go front a little bit, and then I'm going to make my own tie it up myself later, and then cut it really short right there. So you can see, there it is, really nice. Now we're gonna do the other one. Now make sure you're not catching the underside. You just want these to be like the little pleats that are just hanging right there. So you don't want to catch any other fabric underneath it. We're just gonna fold it out, our next pleat, move that back pleat out of the way and get that prepped. Nothing else is under there, just the two pieces that you're gonna put in here. And again, and this is the front of the bodice, so we're folding wrong sides together. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. Now this one is going a little bit lower, so we're going all the way down there. All right, once that is done and you've got all tied off, you can clip those threads, and we're going to steam these pleats towards the edge, to the outer edge of your bodice, that way. See how pretty they look? That actually looks really cute. I'm going to go ahead and trim these, and then I'm going to do the same exact thing for the other side, for the pleats on the other side over here. That actually looks super cute, and it really wasn't even that hard. It's just scary to try, but it was a really cute and pretty easy technique to do. I love that. Look at that. That looks so good. All right, let's move on. All right, so as you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, I finished the raw edges of my back piece. I just kind of ran my serger right through it. My two back pieces to finish the raw edge, or you could do your sewing machine or whatever you want. All right, so I'm going to sew them together, right sides together, stopping to have my placket on the back. I'm gonna be opening that back piece right here. So I gotta stop and leave that opening. Now on my pattern, when I put it together, I can't really see the line, but I'm imagining it's somewhere around here. And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a placket for the back. And I think once we get to the step of sewing them up, this will just be opened up for a placket. So that's where I think the line is. Again, on my pattern, you can't see it because of the fact that when I put it together, it kind of eats up a little bit of the wording here, but I'm going right there, in like right around that area is where I'm going to go for my placket. So I'm going to sew all the way down along the back. All right, we're going to open up that back and steam open that seam allowance. Now I'm grabbing my facing, front and back, and I'm going to apply the interfacing to the facing. Now the front facing, I'm going to finish off with my serger. I'm going to finish off the bottom of the front facing, and then the back facing, I'm going to finish off the bottom and the side, like the straight side. This is a little bit angled. This straight side, this is the side. If you were to put them together like so, we're going to finish up the bottom and then the center seam, if that was how it went. All right, now I'm gonna grab that facing and I place it right side up, and I'm gonna sew up the back pieces together. So those raw edges, the ones that were not already finished off, they're gonna be sewn together here at the top. All right, so I am actually going to be using some elastic for the cording in the back for the securing the part of the button and stuff like that. And we're gonna place it 1 centimeter down from the edge right here, and we can top stitch it down first, because then we're gonna go ahead and sew it on at the same time that we're sewing. We're gonna sandwich it when we're sewing our facing to the top of the neck. I'm just gonna head over to my sewing machine real quick and give it a quick basting stitch right there to keep it on there so it won't come off when I'm trying to sew it. All right, so I don't know how, but I missed a step. After, well, when we're sewing the neck facings, I'm also going to grab my bodice front and back and sew at the shoulder seams. I'm gonna sew it first, and then I'm gonna use my serger, and I'm gonna finish those raw edges. And as you can see right here is my little stitch down little strap thingy. You can make your own strap, but I just had that little elastic, and so I'm using that. All right, now we're going to attach our facings. I'm laying my bodice out right side up, and I'm grabbing my facings and I'm gonna face them right side down, right on top of my bodice. Here at the edge, this should come right to the edge on the back facings. And we're gonna sew starting here at the back, sew up and all the way around the whole neck, and come all the way around and then down the back. All right, now that our neckline is done, we're going to turn our corners and steam our neck down. Make sure when you're sewing here at the front, pleats are facing the opposite directions. See that? That looks really good right there. And then poke out your corners and steam it down. And your little tie should be hanging out right here like this one is. See that right there? Because I'll put on the other side here, we'll put like a little button or something for an enclosure, and that's what will keep my neckline closed. It'll be really cute. All right, now we're gonna turn the shirt right sides together, and we're gonna sew our sides. While we're there, I'm also going to tack down my shoulders. I'm gonna sew like in the seam and tack those shoulders down so my facing doesn't lift up when I'm wearing it. So I just want to put like a little tacking. You can do a hand stitch, hand tack it. Look at that bird. You can hand tack it down if you want to, whatever is easiest for you. And then we're gonna sew our sides, right sides together. I'm gonna sew them with my sewing machine first, and then I'm going to finish them with my serger. Time to work on our sleeves. Now, I am making the short sleeve version. I almost did not have enough fabric to make my sleeves. So I went with the short sleeve because that's as much fabric as I had. So we're gonna go ahead and mark our sleeve. My fabric is really see-through, so I'm gonna be able to mark it from this angle. So I'm just gonna do the same exact technique that I did on my top front, remember, with the pleats. So that's what we're doing now. Marking the top the bottom and like middle of all the pleats. And then I'm going to be able to just fold them like that. Since there's 4 pleats, I'm doing 2 going that way and 2 going this way. So if you can see right here, there's my first pleat. Another thing is this fabric is so easy to work with because it's so thin. So when I iron it, it stays. So that's great as well. So it's easy to do the pleating. All right, now that the pleats are prepped, as you can see, I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and do that little stitch right next to the pleat on all of them. As you're sewing, make sure to move everything else out of the way and you're just sewing each individual pleat. And you're gonna start at the dots and you're going to do it like right next to it. Sorry, my dog is running up and down the hallway. Alrighty, now that this is done, we're gonna steam those pleats. See how cute they are? We're gonna steam from the 2 to the one side, the 2 on the left go towards the left, the 2 on the right go towards the right, and then you can trim the threads, come back and trim them a little bit later, and do that for both. All right, once that's done, we're going to grab our sleeve and match up the raw edges, the inside seam, and sew that up. Then I'm going to grab the sides, fold them right sides together at the inseam and sew first with a straight stitch on my sewing machine, and then I'm going to finish it off with my serger to finish off the raw edge. Then I'm going to go in at the bottom and put in a basting stitch to gather this to fit my cuff once we put the cuff on. And we're also going to prep my cuffs by grabbing them and folding the edges in about 1 centimeter in on both the top and the bottom, so both edges come in. I'm also going to open that up and sew the raw edges right sides together, like open the creases up so you're sewing the whole thing. All right, now that we've got this gathering stitch here, we're going to gather the width of the cuff. So I'm going to gather a little bit more by pulling on that bobbin thread. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the cuff over. I'm going to actually match this cuff seam to the seam where I sewed my sleeve, match those up right here. And I'm matching right sides together, those raw edges of my cuff all the way around. And then I'm going to sew it at that line. Actually, well, you could do it on the right side or the wrong side. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to do it on the right side right now. It depends on the look you want to go for. I just broke a thread. Sometimes I do it from the front. Sometimes I do it from the back. It doesn't really matter. Just looks a little bit different. Maybe it does matter. I think the pattern tells you to do it from the matching the right side to the right side of the cuff to the wrong side of the sleeve, but I'm doing it right sides together because then once that's sewn on, I'm gonna flip this over like so and stitch them together. But you could do it, you could come around this way from the back. Let me show you on this one. All right, so if I'm attaching the wrong side, is the right side of the cuff to the wrong side of the fabric, of the main sleeve fabric, and we're just attaching it on. I'll show you what the difference of the look is from doing it one way or the other, in case you're curious. I'm always curious about things like that. All right, Let's go sew that up. And then, like I said, we're going to tilt the fabric over and top stitch. All right, so this is the one that I sewed from the outside, right sides together. And so if I'm gonna fold it now, wrong sides together, I'm gonna put that pleat up, the edge up, and fold that over the sleeve cuff and then top stitch like so. This one that I sewed to the back of the fabric, we're gonna come now to the front, move the allowance up, and then fold this edge to the front and top stitch down. So I guess it does work better this way because then now I can see it from the front and make sure that it's nice and even. But it really doesn't really matter which way you do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some pins and pin that up and then sew it really quickly. And of course I'm doing it all right here because I'm easygoing like that. Make sure you're trapping that seam allowance in there. And there it is. I'll just have to trim some of those stitches, like some of that thread, but see the cuff right there? This will be a little bit harder to sew because we're coming from the front, but we're folding to the back. And you want to be able to catch it. So it is best if you sew it the other way. Ooh, I almost got my nail cut in there. Never done that before. Ooh. I feel like look, I got a scratch on my nail. You all just witness my nail keeping that needle from going into my finger. All right, I got my sleeve area. I'm gonna turn it inside out because I wanna fit it from the inside. And I'm gonna grab my sleeve and I'm gonna match up this inseam right here. And then I'm gonna match up the top, the shoulder, up where I marked that half. And then I will pull that basting stitch and gather my sleeve to fit. All right, now we're also going to go ahead and hem our bottom. And I'm gonna go in first and just do a serged edge, and then I'll fold over because that just works best for me. I might fold over and fold over again, but serge it first because this fabric shreds. It just shreds, and I don't want it to shred while it's in the wash, so that's why I'm doing that. It's like an extra precaution. All we've got left to do is to hem the bottom and to add the little button for the enclosure at the back, which we'll do that after and we'll be done. I am going to do a fold over then fold over to hide that serged edge, but I just wanted to do that, you know, like extra step because this fabric is so thin. I've had it fray on me like in the wash, and I just don't want to take any chances. So I went the extra step with that serge edge, but you don't have to do that. The last thing to do is to add that little button right here to close our back. So I'm just going to add that little button. So hand stitch it. Probably do black thread, but I already threaded my needle with white, and my button keeps trying to run away from me. This is what happens when you've had a lot of coffee. Your hands are shaky, your button is like, my goodness, my hands are so shaky. I literally just had like a huge mug of coffee, so that would be why. We are finished with our cute top. I'm gonna go try it on. All Alright friends, we are done. How cute did this turn out? I love it. I love this little detail on the top. It's also the same detail that's at the bottom of the sleeve. I love the flowiness of it, and I think it looks super cute untucked, but it also looks super cute tucked in with a high-waisted skirt or high-waisted jeans. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and it was clear and helpful for you. Please comment below if you have any questions. You can grab this pattern. There is a French and a English version to the website. So if you scroll down, there's a way to change the language if you're looking for that. So you can find this pattern in English, and it was super straightforward. I loved it. All right. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my other free tutorials. Also find me on Instagram or Facebook, where I share most of my daily routine and my daily sews. Find me over at eloise.ezra, and I'll see you next time. Bye.